All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's department budget hearings. Tonight, we will have three presentations: Internal Audit Department, Hartford Public Library, and the Hartford Parking Authority. My name is Amilcar Hernandez, and I am Chair of the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee. This meeting is broadcasting live on HPA-TV's Xfinity Government Channel 96, Frontier Government Channel 6032. I will also be streamed via HPA-TV.org, the HPA-TV Facebook page, HPA-TV Apple TV, Amazon TV, and Roku TV apps. It will also be made available on the HPA-TV YouTube channel. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues present here today. On the screen, we have Councilwoman Mali Rosado. To my right, we have Council President Shirley Surgeon, Majority Leader Marilyn Rossetti, Councilwoman Biladu, and in a few minutes, Assistant Majority Leader TJ Clark. For the first presentation, I'd like to introduce the Chief Auditor, Craig Trujillo, from the Internal Audit. Craig, the floor is yours, and you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, City Council. It's a pleasure to be here. I think all of you know that I'm going to retire June 13th, so we'll have an acting Chief Auditor, so this will be my last budget presentation. Slides are the same as last year, the mission statement, everything is not changed except the numbers. You're well aware of our mandate. It's in the city ordinance and the charter. I report to the Audit Commission, and we did make a change 2 years ago with the selection of one of the commissioners. One commissioner is the treasurer's pick, one's the city council pick, obviously, and the other one is two candidates are being picked by the, who is that? Oh, the Hartford Metro Alliance. They used to be the top 10 taxpayers, but that got to be unruly. So our mandate comes from the charter, which was changed when the strong mayor form of government was put in. I report to the Audit Commission. Our areas of responsibility have not changed. City of Hartford, library, parking, treasury, MRF, grants, the stadium, contract adherence, which we're doing an audit of that right now. Our mission's the same as it's been for a long time. There's really no change to our mission statement. Internal audit basically stays the same, except for new techniques to do different audits or different testing or whatever. Our budget is 2.25% higher than last year, and that is only salary, contractual salary increases for my staff, which are in the HPA union. So, small increase. Everything else is flat. Let's see what's next. Oh, the highlights. Last year we issued, I think, completed 16 audits. We had a little issue with some, and we didn't meet the 20 that we wanted to. But this year we're right on schedule to meet our 20 audit goal, possibly more if we can. Even though I lost 6-7 months of one auditor due to a retirement, so that's been replaced. You see all the audit reports. We recommend improvements, policies, procedures, controls. We follow up on our audit recommendations. We're totally current on doing that. We have not had just 1 or 2 or 3 maybe special projects or reviews. No fraud investigations. It was a quiet year. But I still maintain our fraud hotline. I get some anonymous letters in the mail, but it have nothing to do with the city or internal audit. It could be a state issue, it could be Section 8 housing, it could be anything. We all maintain our professional designations. We're all CPAs, MBAs, CIAs. We have a lot of experience also in the department. Our demographics changed with the hiring of Chris. Chris replaced Desmond. I don't know what our classification for Desmond was. He was Jamaican, I think. We are fully staffed now, but we will be down one auditor in July. One of my staff is retiring, and I'll be retiring. And Donna Barbieri, we've all agreed. We've agreed with the commission that she'll be acting chief auditor during the recruiting process. That's about it.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo, for this presentation, and thank you for your years of service as you come closer to your retirement date.
18 years with the city.
18 years.
And they were...
Yeah,
I had 3 major jobs in my career. Cigna Corporation for 22 years, the Phoenix for 8, and there's some other public accounting in there, and then 18 with the city.
So you left
And it's a toss-up, which was my most fulfilling and wonderful job, and I think I'm leaning towards the city.
Yeah, you left the best for last.
It was a lot of fun working for the city. I really enjoyed working at the city. And I'd like to continue being involved if I could get appointed to the audit commission after I retire. So,
when we started, I failed to acknowledge some of my other council members on the screen. I couldn't see them with the presentation being shared. On the screen, we also have Councilman Mitchum, Councilman Alex Thomas as well. So we're going to start with some questions that my colleagues may have. And I'll start with my colleagues on the screen. If there are any questions, Councilman Mitchum, you good? Okay. What about Councilwoman Rosado?
Yes, I just want to thank Craig for the presentation and thank him for his commitment and his leadership throughout all these years. I know that when I was council president, I got to work with him a lot. So Craig, thank you for your service, and I look forward to seeing you around.
Well, thank you. Councilman Thomas, any questions, any statements?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your service to the city. 18 years is a significant amount of time, and I love that you included some of the other positions that you've held, and it's just amazing, just to, that's history, walking history. And so I just wanted to say I appreciate your service to the city, and thank you so much for this presentation, and it was a good last one.
yeah, it's been a good run.
Yeah, it's a good run. I did have one question, I would say. You're doing the acronyms, so the CPAs, MBAs, and you had said the CIAs. Was that a joke, or like, or is that actually an acronym or something?
The CIA is Certified Internal Auditor, Internal Auditor through the Institute of Internal Auditors.
Got it. I appreciate you saying that, because I actually thought it was just a joke. So sorry about that.
No, we don't have any.
There's so many acronyms that I don't know. So thank you so much. Sorry for my little one running in the back, but I appreciate you, and good luck with the rest of your time. And I hope that we're able to get you on that commission as well, so your service to the city can continue. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Mally, how are you, Mally?
All right, Councilwoman Bilodeau?
No No questions, but thank you very much for your service and congratulations on your very near retirement.
Thank
It
you.
was always a pleasure working with you, Craig.
Thank you.
Okay.
a
Majority
pleasure
Leader,
working with
Majority Leader Rossetti.
Thank you. I have a question. Congratulations on your retirement, and I heard you say that Jay Johnson is retiring?
Yes, and
And I worked many years with him at United Technologies, so please send my regards to him.
yeah, he plans on retiring in July, but he has no set date, but
All right.
I planned on retiring 2 years ago, and I never did.
So I have a question. What is the criteria for an unplanned audit?
For a planned audit?
Unplanned audit?
I don't know, I don't understand the criteria for an unplanned audit?
You have documentations for your number of unplanned audits?
Oh, yes, yes. I have a spreadsheet of all the auditable areas for the whole city by department. So and my total list is about 180 auditable areas, and that can change. Generally, it doesn't change too much. We're not like a corporation, we buy companies, but, and we rank them high, medium, and low based on the exposure that we see through our risk model of the area. For instance, one area would be finance. In
So what
finance,
makes an unplanned audit?
well, 160 of them would be unplanned. They're not on the audit plan. That's what I mean by unplanned.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I'll ask
So-
something else.
No,
No, that's okay. What actions are taken if discrepancies are found in an audit?
if what?
If discrepancies are found in an audit?
Depends on the discrepancy. If you're talking about misconduct or fraudulent activity or suspected fraudulent transaction, we will do an investigation on that during the audit. Based on the results of that, we will make the decision, do we take this to the Hartford Police for further investigation and/or prosecution, which we have done in a few instances, in a few departments. If the discrepancy is not fraudulent or inappropriate, then we would resolve that with management. But if we did find something, we wouldn't necessarily go directly to the department head or the police or anyone else until we really had a good feeling of what it was,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
which we have,
Thank you.
found in the past.
Thank you. Council President Surgeon.
Thank you for your presentation, and I wish you all the best on retirement. So you're still young enough to go out there and do something else, I'm sure. Yes.
I sit on the board of directors for the Insurance Internal Audit Group.
From where?
The Insurance Internal Audit
East
Group.
Orange?
Insurance.
Sorry.
My whole career was in insurance before I
Okay.
came here. Insurance audit.
Yes.
And I sit on the board of that
Thank you.
organization. We have conferences twice a year. I handle all the hotels. I've been on the board for 35 years. And we've got 250 insurance companies around the country and the world, in Bermuda. And we have a membership of about 450 people. So I stay involved in, even though it's called the Insurance Internal Audit Group, we touch on a lot of different subjects that aren't related to insurance, like ethics, cybersecurity,
Yeah.
IT, everything else like that.
Yeah, things have
I'm
changed.
staying involved in that.
Good. I'll keep you young. I know how that feels.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. You know, you said you had 180
auditable areas. Let's
Auditable.
say our audit universe,
The
whatever
audit
you want to call
universe.
it, yeah.
And that is City of Hartford, or is it just
And,
city
and the school board,
and the school board?
yes. School board, parking authority, City of Hartford, baseball stadium. I got a list of the areas.
I'm sorry, the base,
The list is on one of the slides of the areas.
where is it?
On my spreadsheet, I have it by department. So for example,
Oh,
if you...
yeah, here they are. Sorry, I missed that. Right. Okay.
So Shirley, for example, if you look at this spreadsheet, it's by departments, and I would have finance. Now, under finance, I'll have tax. I'll have real estate tax, personal property tax, motor vehicle tax, 3 different audits in the tax department. And then I would have 3 different audits in the assessor's office, same thing. Then we'll do an audit of journal entries and accounting adjustments. So we have all the departments broken down. DPW, we have it broken down. Refuge fees, the maintenance of all our vehicles. So under each area, there's several subsections which I call auditable areas, and we rank them high, medium, low. With the staff we have, the ones that are ranked high, we try and get to them every 3 years. Mediums every 5, the lows maybe 7.
That
The
was
thing
my
is,
next
with the lows
question.
is where you can find
Yeah.
some issues.
That was my next question is, you know, how do you get through 180 areas with the staff that you have?
Right. I mean, there's some things on there we never even looked at over all these years that it was such a low priority.
And because you do,
What-
for the
We-
high priority,
We
you
just had
said,
other priorities.
so for the high priority, you said you do every 3 years,
Yes.
and then for the low, every 5 years?
The mediums,
Mediums is 5.
Yeah.
And what about the low?
7.
7 years?
or more.
Okay. So you base...
For instance, we've never audited this particular process in the police department, which are the informant payments. So money we pay to informants to give us information. Now, you gotta have a lot of controls over that. We're doing an audit of that right now. It's not a whole lot of money, but there's a lot of exposure there. There's a lot of, but we never looked at it, so we looked at it. We just did an audit, and you saw the audit of the pistol range for the
I
officers.
remember that.
The one we did before that, we had some big problems with the purchase of
You know,
ammunition.
Right.
Yeah, and we did a special investigation on that. And
So...
with pistol permits, like the pistol permits, and we did an investigation on that one where that officer stole $35,000 in pistol permit fees.
I do know you sent us a copy, you know, when you get ready to do an audit. Could you tell us how many highs you have for the 3 years out of your 180, you know, areas? How many 5 years and how many 7 years? If you don't have to tell us now, but if you can send that information, that'd be great.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least,
I can send you the auditable area spreadsheet if you want.
so at least we can see, you know, when the last time
Yeah.
an area was ever audited 7 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And you obviously, you know, very, very open to any recommendations, or if you, or any of the city council want us to look into an operation, we move that to the top of the list.
So looking at your number of, your employees, you know, one is gonna be retiring. So basically, for all your auditors, this is a full, you know, full amount of staff you have? So these 4 people is what you've been using for audit over the last several years? Or was there...
No, Jay's been with us since 2016. Donna's been with us since 2019. Then I had Desmond, he was there forever. Fulak has been with us about 4 years now. And our new auditor, he started in December. He replaced Desmond Sinclair.
So basically,
We-
you've basically, over the last decade, you've normally have about 4 auditors on your payroll and yourself?
4 staff and myself,
4
correct.
staff and yourself,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So I'm going to close this out with only one question. With 2 of you retiring in the next 3 months, you in June and Jay Johnson in July, what is the succession plan that has been established by your department to make sure that the operations continue, efficiently, or any projects that were, in the process are picked up by another person, although there's going to be very few, at least during that time.
When I got the audit commission, which right now is Martin John and Bruce Rubenstein, to agree, I said, look, if I retire, we got to put somebody in charge to keep the audit department running smoothly, let's say, or efficiently. And I said, I have confidence that Donna can step in as interim. And I said, let's make her interim, and you can do outside recruiting or inside recruiting as soon as I retire. You can start the recruiting process and see what you get, see what we get, what kind of applicants we get. And then Donna could be thrown into the pool, and then you folks pick one that you want to hire. But I'm working with Donna on all the things that I do that the staff doesn't do, everything I do. In fact, Donna was around, I said, you should come to the budget meeting with me because you may be running the next one. And she said, I don't have to talk, do I? I said, no, not this time. But they're they're friendly people, generally.
We are. So thank you. I mean, that concludes all of our questions, and we have 2 more departments to handle today. So I think this is like record timing. So I appreciate, your concise presentation. To the public watching us on HPA-TV, we're going to take just a short 5-minute break to transition to another department. And next up, we'll have Hartford Public Library. So thank you, everyone, and we'll come back in just 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for doing that.
All right, welcome back to all of those watching us through HPA-TV. We are now on our second department budget hearing, and with us tonight we have the President and CEO, Bridget Quinn from the Hartford Public Library. Bridget, the floor is yours. Please introduce the leadership team alongside with you tonight, and then you can start the presentation.
Thank you very much for having us here this evening. It's so nice to see you all. I'm Bridget Quinn. I'm joined by the chairman of our board, David Barrett, and my finance director, Carl Fisher. Also joining me this evening is the leadership team of the Hartford Public Library, Letitia Cotto, Gilda Roncari, Mary Zimbazakis, Marie Jerry, Gina Federico, and Gwen Cannon. And Homa Nafisi, and Estella is here. She's, she's in the presentation, so I'll mention her, but large contingent from the library to be here to support our presentation, but also as a way to show thanks to the council for the investment that you make in us as an institution. And David, turn it over to you.
Yeah, so thank you. As Bridget said, I'm David Barrett. I'm the chair of the board. Bridget and Carl are going to present the bulk of our presentation, but just a few points about this year. First, this is the year that we'll be starting a new strategic plan. We're entering our 251st year after our 250th anniversary last year. There will be considerable community input into the plan, as always, and we're looking to find ways to improve the programs and services even more than what we offer today. I think you're aware that we reopened the main floor of the downtown library in November. We reopened the U-Media and Children's departments in January, and now we're undertaking the second phase of the Renew, Restore, and Reimagine campaign, where we'll start construction anytime now, Bridget? Anytime now. It'll take about a year, and we will have a brand new library hopefully in 2026. As you are more than well aware, these are very difficult times for libraries and museums in this country. And so we think it's even more important that Hartford Public Library stands as a beacon of service and hope to the Hartford community. We recognize that we are a trusted institution, that we are valued and appreciated. We intend to maintain that trust by continuing to listen and respond to the community's needs. And of course, this is where you, the council people who represent the community, come into play. It is your funding, the funding that the city provides, that is essential for us to continue to do the work that we do. I'm obviously happy to answer any questions, but again, let me thank you for your support, and let me encourage you to fully support the budget as proposed by the mayor for fiscal year FY26. And with that, I turn it back over to Bridget.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. So our mission and vision remain the same. You've seen this now every year that we've been here to provide resources free resources for our community so that they can thrive and be successful. We have had a good year. Now, these statistics are about half of our fiscal year through December of 2024, but as you can see, we're still logging quite a number of visits. This is system-wide in all of our locations, as well as all of our kind of other quantitative measures of impact, and the numbers keep increasing. We have this is our service map of all of our service presence across the city. That includes all of our, obviously includes the downtown library, our full branch locations, as well as the 2 service locations that we operate with, in partnership with Hartford Public Schools, our boundless libraries at West Middle and also at Rawson. So what I'd like to do in our presentation is show you how we use your investment throughout the city in all of the branch locations. So starting with Albany, there's so much to highlight. I do a quarterly report to the board that's actually on our website that has so much more detail. So it was hard picking out just 1 or 2 things per branch, but one of the really exciting things that happens at the Albany Library, as you probably know, we have a tremendous representation of young people at the Albany Library every single day in the afternoon. And one of the things we've been able to do over there is expand our U-Media, our teen services, and an exciting partnership between University of Connecticut and us is a partnership to introduce young people to AI. And AI can be a little intimidating, right? It can be like, well, how are we going to use this so that it's, it's a resource and it's a tool rather than something that just kind of takes over and does the work for us. So responsible, ethical AI and practices is part of the training, is creating those critical thinking skills in our young people. So this was a really, really exciting project that we will continue to develop with UConn and other partners. At the Barber Library, we continue our food share distributions, reaching quite a number of people in the community every month. The Barber Library is tiny but mighty. Won't be tiny for too much longer, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you can see the impact that they have with, modest investment. They are really able to connect with the community and do some impactful work. And at the Campfield Library, if you haven't been there in a while, they have this great new puppet theater as well as an outdoor installation for hands-on make-believe play for our young people there. Dwight Library. So I try and get around to the branches, not as often as I would like to, but last time I was at Dwight and visiting, there was a sewing class going on. And I tell you, the people that were coming in for that sewing class were so excited. They have a great instructor, and it's not only a means of learning a skill and doing something productive, but it is so important for that community building. And as you know, the country really is experiencing a crisis in loneliness and isolation. So these kinds of activities are not only important for the skill that people learn, but it's also building community and making sure people have a network in their neighborhood so that they feel connected and not isolated. Park continues to be an incredibly busy library location. You can see how many workshops we have, and that's just one workshop series. Again, when the downtown library was closed, the Park Library really was the place where most people were using instead of downtown. So the Park Library was incredibly busy, and they were doing tons of programming from there. And exciting, they were a voting site for the Dominican Republic election. So truly an international space in our community. Ropkins, great location. As you know, we opened the Hartford History Center Annex there. So not only do we have, traditional library services and programs and collections there, we also have a Hartford History Center Annex. And our programming staff, whether it's through TAP or other programming departments, often take programs to branch locations. And one of the ones that was done there was a financial literacy workshop. And Estella, who's in the picture, is actually here with us tonight too. That's an IMLS funded program. Unfortunately, that is one of the programs that the funding was cut, and we have lost funding for that. However, we are committed to continuing the important program and the work that Estella does for the library system. For Youth and Family Services, Summer Learning, some of you were with us for the parade. We were celebrating our 250th anniversary last year, and our parade theme, you can see we had some wonderful people dress up as people from 250 years ago to help us celebrate. Vision to Learn, if you're not aware of this wonderful organization, they come in and partner with the library, and they give out free eye exams to Hartford youth and also free glasses. So we've been partnering with them now, I think, for 3 years. And it's such a valuable service. The families are so thankful. And then they also have a partnership with Connecticut Sun, so some families win an opportunity to take their families to a basketball game. Boundless, I already mentioned that we are operating 2 locations. We expanded into West Middle last year, and that is a partnership with Hartford Public Schools. The Boundless at Rawson, we also have public service hours on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. We recently started social services. So we have a full-time social worker who is primarily located downtown, but she does go to all of the branch locations. And we recently brought in another social work staff member because it is such a valuable service. So that is connecting community members to resources that are, kind of beyond the library's scope of referrals, right? So the library, we're here to help, but sometimes the needs of the community member are not our expertise. So having a social worker who really is knowledgeable about the resources that are available and how to make those warm handoffs has been an incredibly valuable service. Can you just go back for one minute? So one of the things I want to highlight on the right-hand side, we have some funding from Cigna to offer something called the Health on the Go, so people can get free transportation to their medical appointments, and that's a partnership between Cigna and the library so that we can make sure that people are getting the health care that they need. We are a passport center, which hopefully you know, and if you need a passport or you need your passport renewed, please come to see us. That helps us generate some revenue, but it's also a wonderful service. And we, the library, are the city's gateway to municipal IDs. I mean, we are your service provider. So when you think about how we're leveraging, or your investment is leveraged, the city started the municipal ID a number of years ago, and we as the library process those applications in all of our locations for any Hartford resident. So we continue to do that, and you can see the number of people that have benefited from that service. The American Place. So home is here. We are celebrating 25 years of the American Place. It was started with an initial investment from the Hartford Foundation of Public Giving, and we continue to serve as a place for people who are seeking citizenship, as well as for people that are needing English language learning and instruction. But the services of the American Place have grown also over the years to meet the needs of our community and have expanded into adult learning and adult education and opportunities for people who are here to receive training and experience, not only to pursue employment, but also as entrepreneurs or just their own personal goals. We have, for many, many years, supported people in that path to citizenship, and unfortunately, the funding that we receive for that, which comes from USCIS, which is the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, that was also cut. So we are now navigating about $500,000 gap in our budget because those two contracts were canceled. But again, we are committed to continuing this service, and we are navigating that by having different plans for mitigating, using other funding to support the services that we want to continue to provide for our community. But full disclosure, it's not easy, right? When you have when you take a $500,000 cut in the middle of your fiscal year. Wonderful partners in the community, especially corporate partners. The American Financial Inclusivity Program that we offer for learning circles. Both Liberty Bank and Bank of America have been active partners in that, and this helps people who are underbanked or unbanked learn about the lending system, learn how to open an account, manage money, and then there's an incentive for them to build capacity, and also learn about banking resources, like how to access capital. I mean, that's one of the things that people just don't always know, how to navigate the systems in order to be able to be successful if they want to be an entrepreneur or if they have other needs for funding. So leveraging our staff and these wonderful partners to be able to provide that opportunity and an introduction. We are a large provider of English language learning, and we are also doing that with youth who come to the United States, or maybe they come from Puerto Rico. They're not necessarily speaking English as proficiently as they would like to. So we have a special after-school program for English language learners, and it has been incredibly successful. It started as a grant fund. We have now operationalized that. But as you can see, I mean, this opportunity for youth has made 50 students eligible or interested and committed to attending higher education after high school. And we started this grant because our research showed that students that would come and were not able to feel connected in high school and were not proficient in English were usually the ones that didn't complete high school. So we wanted to make sure that we were giving young people an opportunity to finish high school. And not only did we meet that goal, but we are also, finding that they are going on to higher education. We continue to have the Digital Library Lab, which is a fabulous resource. And in fact, we've done work with the Department of Development Services and have another project in the pipeline with them. So we're happy to be of service to the city. But we also do that for individuals and other municipalities who have digitization and imaging needs. Story Stash, we cut the ribbon on that during COVID, it was probably still sort of COVID, but during the time that we were closed for the flood, to give people an option to pick up materials, and it is still being used. We have a dedicated following of people who love to use the Story Stash. And now let's talk a little bit about downtown. So as David mentioned, we reopened we call this phase 1, but on 2 different occasions to welcome people back to the downtown library. And just a few before and after pics, which I think are just fun. This is the space that's really kind of right across the street that is now a quieter study and reading area. This is what we call the community living room, and you might remember the pictures of the flood where this was actually underwater and it was raining from the ceiling. This is our new computer area, and you can see the Romero Bearden tucked back in the corner. We're so happy to have the artwork hanging back up. This is the art walk. If anybody was in the artwork or in the cafe, you may remember it was a really loud space. So the picture on the right shows that we have this wonderful installation that is also a noise absorbing feature, so that now if you're on the art walk or in the cafe, it doesn't sound so echoey and loud. This is wonderful, plus it's beautiful. And still to come. So as David mentioned, we are in the process of starting our next phase, which will be the final phase of the renovation and repair. So we will be expanding the section on the first floor that is currently not available. That will be the American Place, and will include the American Job Center, a training lab, a small business and entrepreneurship center, a testing center. The bottom left corner is what will be the new Hartford History Center that is on the 3rd floor, and on the right is an event center which will be on the 1st floor, and that'll be a programmable space that we look to have engaging space there every single day that the library is open. We have 2 major branch capital projects as well, Barbara Street Library, and here's our fancy show and tell. There's no music. Oh. You want to restart? Okay. There we go. I know, isn't it exciting? I get all excited every time I see it. So thank you to our friends. Wait for the echo. Thank you. Thank you to our friends at Hartford Public Access Television for producing that for us. And one thing I also wanted to mention at the Downtown Library is part of the next phase is HPL Studios. And HPL Studios is our production for video and audio, but it also is our partnership, represents the space for our partnership with HPA-TV. We have an agreement with HPA-TV. They are currently located in the Goodwin Library. They're operating out of that, and they have small space at the Downtown Library as well. And we look forward to welcoming them into the Downtown Library. And we think this is a fabulous partnership and a mission alignment between the two organizations. And we're so happy that they produced that for us. It's a wonderful thing. We're happy to be working with them. So that's the Barber Library. The Albany Library is a renovation and expansion of the remediation and stabilization of the former Northwest Jones School is phase 1, and then there will be the renovation and expansion and fit out of that space for the Albany community. So the rendering on the top left is the new entrance. The bottom right is the outdoor space of the new entrance, and then on the left-hand bottom side is a seating area, also doubles as a gallery and exhibit space. So this is a budget hearing, so here we are finally at the budget. So the library is requesting an increase of 5.1% this year, and that represents for staffing as well as benefits. And the non-salary increase is primarily to help support and maintain the buildings that are owned by the city. So as you may know, many of the libraries that we operate out of are actually owned by the city. We have an operating agreement with the city to provide library services, and we do maintain the building. And those buildings, particularly Downtown Library, part of what is being renovated is a lot of deferred maintenance that over the years we just didn't have the funding to be able to do. So the request includes an additional $100,000 in that budget line to be able to better maintain that building because it is a very large building. And the other non-salary expenses are collections. So how we use your funding, the bulk of the funding that comes from the city we use for public services because we feel like that's what you're investing in us, is to make sure that we've got services for the community. You can see where the rest of the funding goes to. So the back office administration to just keep the library going, and also to help us raise funds on the other side so that we can hopefully continue to be, a sustainable source and resource for the community. And then just at the end, we like to show a little comparison to our peers across the state. These are figures that are generated by the state library, so you can see how we measure up to our other urban library partners. Hartford community really values their library. They use it, and they attend programs, they come in and use us virtually. But I also love to see just the percentage of people in Hartford that have library cards compared to not only our peers but honestly across the whole state. Hartford people use the library, and that's a tremendous thing. So just program attendance. And last slide is just a little pithy quote from somebody, always, about the value of libraries. So Walter Cronkite this year, the price is cheap compared to that of an ignorant nation. So it's more important than ever to keep investing in libraries to provide public access to information. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn, for this presentation, and the video was very nice. It's a very nice touch. We don't get a lot of videos on our presentations, so that was a nice touch. We're going to start with some questions from our council colleagues. I'm going to start on the screen with Councilman Mitchell. Do you have any questions for Ms. Quinn? No questions for Ms. Quinn. He's very satisfied.
Thank you, Councilman.
I'm going to move now to my right. I'll start with Council President Surgeon.
Thank you. Turn on my thing. There you go. Is this better? Okay, great. David, thank you for your leadership on the Hartford board. I know, known you a long time, and your involvement in, working with your wonderful librarian here has certainly advanced Hartford in numerous ways. And more than anything else, I'm so looking forward to the two new library coming aboard. Of course, I'm jealous, because the library, Barbara Street, had its film and Upper Albany didn't. So what's up with that?
You'll get Albany will also get a movie, don't worry.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, that is important.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but no, it's beautiful. And the Barbara Street Library is something that should have been coming decades ago. So thank you for your leadership, David. Thank you for your leadership to make sure that we are really getting there. So did I hear you said 2026? 27?
Well, for Barbara Street?
Yeah.
We will break ground this year. It's been a bit delayed. We had hoped to already be there. We've got a site issue that's proving a little bit more challenging to resolve than we had anticipated, but we're making progress and are still on track to break ground this year.
Okay, great to hear. There was one other question I have on all the different libraries are special unto themselves and unique unto themselves. If I want to live in the Northeast, and if I was to go and take the sewing lessons, at one of the other branches, do we ever have any interconnections of getting people from one neighborhood to the next to take part in the services at the different branches?
Well, of course, everybody's welcome. Every branch
Yeah.
is for everybody. So, we love to see people from different communities visit different branches. And that happened a lot, actually, during the time that the downtown library was closed. People experience a branch location that they may have either never been to or hadn't been to in years. And I think always we're very pleasantly surprised because, my colleagues are just so incredibly warm and welcoming. We don't have a means of transporting people between the libraries themselves, except, for the standard public transportation that is already available in the city. Some libraries are more accessible on the bus lines than others. But yes, that is something that unfortunately can be a barrier, but we really try and encourage people to visit whatever library they would like to and that has programs that interest them.
Great. Thank you again for your presentation. Looking forward to Barbara Street. Groundbreaking. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Majority Leader Rossetti.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Chair Barrett. I can't thank you enough to your team, to everyone. Libraries in this city played a huge part in my life growing up, at Campfield Branch in particular. I am also embarrassed that I sometimes said as a teenager I was at Campfield Branch when I was not, but that's another story. Still kind of ache for the Goodwin Branch, though. Maybe we can talk about that someday.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Okay. And I want to take sewing lessons.
Right? I know. And then you can even borrow a sewing machine through
When I
our
saw that, I
library of
was like,
things.
Yes. So on a serious note, even though, are you seeing any, I don't know, I mean, I'm asked this all the time too, backlash or things happening with the book banning, DEI, those types of things? Are we seeing that trickle into our world?
I would say, knock on wood, we are fortunate that we are not often, it's very rare for us to get a book challenge or to be questioned about, our DE&I efforts. However, the national landscape absolutely impacts us, right? So we know what happens in Connecticut. It's happened in other communities, so I think it's something that we are always prepared for. And in fact, the board has been incredibly supportive and responsive and interested in having the discussion to make sure we're prepared for when it could happen in Hartford, to make sure that all of our policies and procedures are where they need to be so that we can respond appropriately should something like that happen. With the DEI, we were anticipating needing to, really deal with that, particularly on the federal level for the funding that we receive. But what ended up being the situation is that it didn't even end up being a conversation or a demand that they put. They just said, well, your contracts are canceled. So, it never got to the point that where it said, you have to change this, otherwise we're not giving you any funding. It was just like, nope, you're not getting any more funding. So we haven't had to have that DEI conversation. But again, I think the board, huge shout out. I've got a tremendous board. It's really being proactive about having that conversation to make sure, again, that we're prepared should we be challenged about that. But I would say that as an organization, we are committed to our values and to the people that we serve, and we really feel like we're doing the work that needs to be done, and that being inclusive is something that is just a basic human right, and is something that is fundamental to our institution.
And we're with you, so.
Thank you.
So let me, if I may jump in.
Absolutely.
I think Bridget put it very well. Bridget also, and the leadership team that's sitting behind me, should be commended for all of the thoughtfulness they've put into these issues, because they've brought it all to the board in an incredibly organized and informed way. We have adopted new policies on how people can object to books, for example, so that we are prepared for if those come in. But the board essentially said, these are our values, and we're sticking by our values. And so, for instance, Bridget mentioned that there were going to be the 25th anniversary of the American Place, which serves, immigrants and refugees. We're going to be celebrating that later this year. And we're proud of the American Place. We're proud of Homa, who's sitting over here. And so we'll be celebrating that. One physical thing that you'll see if you go to the library today is there's a number of spaces that are labeled non-public places. And we've put up these signs because we're now very clear that, where the public can go and not go in case, knock on wood, as Bridget said, someone from the immigration forces come in and want to talk to some of the people who are providing services to, then, they can come into the public spaces, but the non-public spaces, they'll have to have a warrant. So we are very prepared, but our fundamental values haven't changed, and we're going to stick to them, Marilyn. I mean, that's who we are, and that's where we're going.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, real quick, can you just give me a little more about Story Stash?
Oh, absolutely. So Story Stash is a 24/7 material storage locker, essentially. So you can go into our catalog, reserve a book, and then when you put a reserve on it, you get to choose the pickup location. So you choose the pickup location as Story Stash, and it's right under the library. You probably see it when you drive in and where you guys park. So then you can go up to Story Stash. You'll get a notification that your material is ready. You go up to it, you scan your library card, and the locker that it's stored in pops open, you grab it, and you close the door of the locker, and then you have your material, and then you can return it. The book drops right there. So it gives people the option if they, for whatever reason, can't get to the library, or they've got they're in a rush, they just want to get to the locker and go back. So it's been a wonderful thing, and it was a special allocation from the City Council, I think 2 years ago, to help us make sure that people had access because they couldn't get into the library.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Assistant Majority Leader Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Bridget, thank you very much for your presentation, and to David and the rest of the team, good evening. A couple questions. Can you reiterate what is the timeline for the completion for Barber Street?
So completion, so after we break ground, it will be about an 18-month project. 18 so yeah, we were looking at opening in probably 2027.
27,
if we
okay.
start in 25.
And what about Albany Avenue?
So Albany Avenue is got two phases. The first is the stabilization and remediation of the Northwest Jones school, and that's a project that is actually being led by the city. So once that is done, then the rest of the project is under our project management, and we will be able to move forward with that. So right now we're waiting, that's the piece that needs to commence so that we can finalize the rest of the plans and also get a more up-to-date estimate for what the costs will be. So when we did our initial estimate, it was a number of years ago, so we don't really have up-to-date numbers. So we obviously need that in order to make sure we've got enough funding available to do the full project.
Okay, thank you. If I may. My last question, Boundless.
Yes.
I'm still upset that Blue Hills was closed. However, I would like to know, how is it doing at Rawson?
So Rawson is a very engaging space. We've got fabulous staff there. So we are open on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons to the public. We had a staff transition, so there were a couple months that we didn't have that, but now we've restored those hours. And it's a really great spot for the communication and the partnership between the schools and the library. I think is honestly one of the things that when I speak to my colleagues across the country, I point to that, because there's so many communities that are really looking to create the partnership between the schools and the libraries, and the fact that we are providing the staffing for a school media center. I don't know of another library in the country that's doing that, but you know, they're all of our children, right? And we share the same goal of wanting to make sure that they are, you know, they've got a literacy-rich environment, that they are learning all of the things that they need to and want to learn, and that they have the right resources, and they have the really invested adults that are there to help them navigate. And school media specialists, school librarians are so critical to that learning experience. So it really is a model program.
Now, what's the contractual term for Boundless with the library and the school?
So it started as a grant-funded program through the Hartford. We've actually operationalized that at Rawson, so that is now within our regular operational budget. We do have some grant funding that helps support the West Middle location. There are many more opportunities for us to do that in other schools. It's really a matter of resources and capacity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Bridget and David, and thank you to the entire team for all the services you provide. I just want to thank you for the resources, activities, and again, services that you provide to the entire city of Hartford. You know, so many people reap those benefits, and we're really appreciative of that. So I'm from the area where we lost the Goodwin branch, but I will ask, is there any opportunity while school is out that the bookmobile will be regularly in place in that area?
I am so happy that you asked about the bookmobile, because I totally forgot to mention it. And tomorrow I am going to sign off on the transfer of title of a brand new Library on Wheels bookmobile. So exciting. So we're getting that from, am I going to say this right? Gangris. I don't know why I can't pronounce that properly. Gangris, with support from a philanthropic funder also through the donor designated funds at the Hartford Foundation. So we're really excited. So yes, the Goodwin location would be a perfect place for the outreach vehicle. We have a fabulous outreach team right now. So HPA-TV is at Goodwin, and we've also made that space available to the NRZ when they would like to use it for public meetings, have made that an open offer for them. So really looking to make sure we strike that balance to keep it as a community resource. And after HPA-TV has vacated that in there in a downtown library, we've already had 2 community organizations ask about being able to use that space. So, it is a wonderful space. We do want to keep it in some kind of service. Maintaining it as a full library branch, I think, would be tough, but we're certainly open to thinking about creative ideas.
Thank you so much for that great information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. So I'm going to close this out with one question. So in every single statistic that you show towards the end of your presentation, there's been noticeable growth in many areas, especially when you compare to other towns of the same size, when you compare to other towns with the same wealth, and different measurements that you brought up. The one that caught my attention a little bit, and it was showing some type of trend, and I'm asking you this question from the strategic standpoint, it's the library visits per hour.
Yep.
Right? So obviously when COVID happened, we saw that dropped, which is very understandable. But then even after that, in the last 2 years, we see that tendency still going down, even below the median of the same size town of, throughout the state. Yep. So strategically, even though you have grown in programs for adults, programs for children, and I saw some of the numbers on your budget book, and they look amazing. But this one is actually pretty important. Yes. And strategically, what is the approach that you are taking to change that trend that we're seeing on a per hour visit?
Yep. So thank you. I appreciate that. So one of the reasons that our drop was so more significant than others is that we're all impacted by COVID, right? Everybody closed, everybody reduced hours, and then it's been a kind of a tough recovery. We were literally just starting to see the signs of recovery when the downtown library flood happened. So that's for our numbers, our traffic, our visit numbers. Not only did we have the COVID drop, but we also then had the downtown library completely closed for almost 2 years. So that's why our visit numbers are down. The branches were able to, absorb a lot of that, but not all of it. So that's one of the reasons that it's an outlier for us as far as the numbers. But one of the things that we've started to do really is perhaps maybe you follow us on social media. We've been trying to be much more engaged in social media to remind people about the downtown library is open, but the branches are still to kind of engage people in a way that hopefully inspires them to not only take advantage of the electronic and virtual resources, but to still come in and make those actual visits as well. So as we're able to restore more classes, more programs in the downtown library, we will see those numbers continue to go up.
Thank you. So that concludes our questions for tonight for this department. Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Thank you very much. Thank you, David, for for your time that you have served the public library. That concludes this department. So we're going to take a 5-minute break till we can transition to our next and final department, the Hartford Parking Authority. Thank you.
And thank you so much.
All right, good evening. Welcome back to all of those watching us on HPA-TV. We are going to start our third and last department budget hearing. Tonight with us we have the CEO of the Hartford Parking Authority, Jill Turlo. Ms. Turlo, you could start the presentation, but before that, please introduce the leadership team alongside with you this evening. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you. So with me today, I have Kay Almanai. She is the HPA's Director of Strategic Growth and Finance. She's been with us for about 10 months now. And we also have John Michalek, who is the, I did not pronounce that very well, who is the HPA's Finance Manager. He is a contractor, and he previously was the CFO for the HPA and is a wonderful resource. And then behind us, but not sitting with us, we have the HPA's Board Chair, Zoe Chatfield. So to start our presentation, and we are going to try to keep this relatively quick as we do have quite a few slides today. How does this? There we go. Okay. So to start with, we have the HPA's mission statement. The HPA meets the needs of customers citywide by providing clean, safe, accessible parking on and off street. We maintain and operate the city's dedicated parking assets, including the garages and surface lots, as well as on-street, which includes meter collections, enforcement, citation management, valet parking, and residential parking programs. So our team consists of a 5-person board of commissioners, Zoe Chatfield as the chair. We also have Cal Torres, the vice chair, Jack Sullivan as the treasurer, and board members Christian Sager and Amir Johnson. The current HPA staff is 13 full-time employees, 8 part-time, and 1 contractor. And then as an important note, because we found this to be a point of confusion, the enforcement and surface lot operation is managed by a third-party vendor called Reimagined Parking. They are the largest parking operator in North America, and they've been serving in Hartford for over 13 years. They are part of the local 671 Teamsters Union and currently have a 55% Hartford residents under their staffing. This is just a few pictures of our staff out at work, including installing some goat hooves between the 275 Windsor Street parking lot and the Duncan Park, which is very cute to see kids run on as they're going to the park. Okay. So next up, we have community engagement. Over the last fiscal year, the HPA has donated free parking and, depending on the event, staff for over 20 City of Hartford and nonprofit events. So for some examples, we have the Roberto Clemente Annual Life Commemoration event. We have the Back to School celebrations with the backpack giveaways. We have the Winter Fest, where we donate on-street parking. We have early voting and voting, quite a few different events for the public library, the Mayor's Rock Your Future, and many more things we couldn't include here. We also donate our time at events. So some of the items included here are the HPA's, myself and the 2 HPA directors volunteered at the Angel of Edgewood Thanksgiving event. We served food to individuals that came through, and then our patrol staff actually helped deliver extra food around the city to different organizations and pantries. A similar tone, we've also really been working on the community outreach. So you can see the picture on the left is Kay talking to a group of elementary school students, teaching them about parking. On the right was me speaking at a job fair where we also provided free parking with the idea that we're trying to remove that barrier for people to attend events or, again, to vote, to go to the library, so they don't have to pay to park and then they don't have to worry about getting a citation. You don't want someone who's coming to get a free backpack having to deal with that as they're trying to take advantage of a city resource. Okay. This slide discusses proactive listening. So there are a number of different community organizations that we attend. We go to NRZ meetings and merchants associations, and we also meet with individual residents. And as a result of those meetings, we have established quite a few different programs, including the Irving Street RPP, the City Parks Ordinance that'll be coming in front of council next month. We had an Upper Albany and Clay Arsenal walk audit, and then we are currently working on an off-street parking validation program in the downtown that we hope to release within the next month or so. More specifically, we've done some city structure updates to streets. So one example I like to give is the Boys and Girls Club on Chandler Street didn't have proximate parking, and they had reached out to us. So we communicated with DPW and DDS to have a site visit, and we're able to install 20 parking spaces, including an ADA accessible space, which is used by their staff and attendees. This is another example of us getting out into the community. So the RPP I had mentioned on Irving Street, for the first time ever, the HPA piloted an in-person outreach initiative. So staff went out to discuss the program and the requirements, and then also went on site to process the applications with a mobile payment system, which is something we had never done before, but would hope to do moving forward. Included in that was a house visit for a 102-year-old resident in order to get a visitor's parking pass for her support staff. One of the other initiatives, and I will give Kay the credit for this one, is she's really been prioritizing outreach to new businesses in the city so we can be proactive about helping them address their parking problems. So we want to make sure that they know where their staff is going to park, where they can direct their customers, and that if they have any concerns, we can help get ahead of those problems before it has an impact on their business. Okay. One of the initiatives that I've been heading up a little bit myself is the modernizing of communications. So I'm sure Corporation Counsel could agree, since they've seen all of these forms go by their desk, but we've been updating all of our policies and all of our customer-facing forms. Everything is being reviewed for compliance with the municipal code. It's being verified to make sure that it protects the city and the users. We've updated our valet parking applications, the residential parking program. We've also been making updates to our website to make information more readily available for residents. So we have the understanding that a resident is not going to be going to the municipal code to understand the parking violations in the city or what makes a vehicle eligible to be booted. So we tried to put that information on our website in ways that are easy to read and clear. That way, if someone has questions, they're easy to answer. In addition, we created a Contact Us form, which when we first put it on the website, barely had any traction, but these days we get multiple requests every day. Whether that's a question about a parking ticket or a request for enforcement, it has become a really effective way for people to reach out to the right parties. The enforcement request specifically was designed so that rather than someone having to go through 311 and then have that forwarded to us, or previously there were individuals that would contact me directly in the city, if you submit an enforcement request on the Contact Us form, it goes directly to the parking enforcement staff, so they can get out there as quickly as possible to address the problem. Finally, we've also been making significant updates to our project communications. Our priority has been making sure that people have notice when a change is made or when a project is coming. So if we change the infrastructure on your street, there's going to be a 2-week warning period with bilingual notifications. We also were part of the initiative to push for resident mailers for the sanitation project, which were sent out with help by the city and the Office of Community Engagement. We have an example here of the bilingual trifold flyer that the HPA designed and printed for the sanitation project. And we tried to, again, make it very clear. You know, what is happening? Where should I park? How do I submit an appeal? Trying to make it very intuitive and, again, remove any questions for people on what the project is. And it has all of our contact information because my staff is very responsive to outreach from residents. Okay. Next, we have managed assets. I'm going to throw this over to Kay.
So the HPA manages 13 assets at the moment. We have 2 city garages, the largest one being the MAC garage, which stands for Main and Trumbull, for those who don't know. Then we also manage the library parking deck. We lease assets surrounding Duncan Park, 275 Windsor Street garage, where the Board of Education parks, and 275 Windsor Street, where predominantly that's used for events at Duncan Park. On the other side, you can see that there are 6 lots that we're currently managing. There's room for that list to grow, and Albany and Woodland is still under construction, but we will be managing that when that is done, I believe in 2026. On-street parking is probably the largest asset that we manage for the city, and we maintain the metered parking, the residential parking permit programs, which are opt-in only. and the valet parking program citywide. So here's actually a map that our chairwoman Zoe has created, just so we can get some kind of more visual look of where things are located across the city. And just to talk about some of the things that we've been doing this year, we've really been working on auditing our operation internally, really just trying to find and shake up every penny and every couch cushion that we could. A lot's changed since COVID, so we've really been trying to kind of reassess what is still necessary, what needs to now be revisited, and we've been doing that across the board, including with the budget. We've been doing facility audits and updates. Again, due to COVID, there was a lot of changes in the way that maintenance was being done, and also the needs were changing. Also, just regulations changed, so we are just kind of auditing everything, making sure that we're still up to compliance, and making sure that we're kind of giving attention to certain assets that maybe did not, see their full, I guess, the full amount of, what do you want to call it, preventative maintenance that they should have through COVID. This is another example of what we're trying to do in terms of, kind of making city assets, more of a resource for people. So I wish I had a before picture so you could really just see how drastically different it is. But there was a lobby on the Trumbull side, Main and Trumbull, I guess it's Trumbull and Church intersection, and essentially it was just concrete. And we thought, hey, we could partner with the bid and make this sort of a tourist hub, make information more widely accessible to those who are coming to games, to those who are working and parking downtown. And so this has an interactive map that the bid manages, and then also they, I don't know if everyone knows, but the bid offers, for example, free lockout services, escort services to and from your vehicle if you do not feel safe. If you have a tire that's flat, they will help you come change that. If you have a bike, we have a bicycle rack right outside that entrance, and they also will change your chain and your tire if you need that. So just having that information readily accessible in places where there are 900 plus cars parking a day and bicycles.
Just to be clear, this is a mock-up. We're still doing the work. So if you go there and you see it doesn't look like this yet, that's why it's in progress.
The flooring has been done, and that was part of an ADA compliance audit, and the paint needed warmer weather, so.
Correct. So now we're going to move into projects and initiatives. The first thing we have listed is capital repairs and maintenance, which is going to be one of the largest points of this presentation.
To make it very clear, the Hartford Parking Authority manages city assets, and anything that we make past our operating budget goes to the general fund. And essentially, the more that the Hartford Parking Authority can manage for the city, not only is one of the benefits that it's increased to the general fund, but also it allows the parking authority to maintain a large amount of share of downtown so that they can control the parking prices. There is a lot of land in Hartford when I moved here that I became aware of that is not taxable. So the Hartford Parking Authority really has kind of thought that we could be a vehicle to kind of sort of select to kind of get some revenue back from some of these assets that traditionally the city is not seeing anything from. The Main and Trumbull Garage is the largest asset downtown that we manage. It's over 900 car garage, and it is in need of massive capital improvements. I think that the last time that we had seen that there was any major construction was back in 2016, and that was to the tune of $1.2 million. At the moment, the on-call engineering firm who puts out the annual report, condition report, has pretty much said that this if you want to go to the last slide, is about a $52 million project if done in phases. And because a lot has not been done in the interim, we are seeing large bills monthly on an ongoing basis to kind of do emergency concrete repairs, emergency drain repairs, and things of that nature.
So just briefly before we dive more into the budget, some of our other initiatives that we'll just describe quickly. So we do have a City Parks Parking Enforcement Ordinance proposal, which will be going in front of City Council next month. That's to allow the HPA to enforce existing park relations in city parks. That was requested by multiple parks, and at this point, I've gone out to speak with representatives from Colt Park, Bushnell Park, Keeney Park, Goodwin Park, Pope Park, and Elizabeth Park. We have also met with PRAC, and they voted unanimously in support. It would also include a new regulation to prevent unauthorized parking on the grass in city-owned parks and green spaces. In addition, we are still working on the sanitation signage installation and replacement project with the Department of Public Works. Wednesday and Thursday are completed, Friday is in progress, and Monday and Tuesday will proceed in that order as we go through the days.
The citywide EV charging infrastructure program, that's something that we were approached to manage citywide, and we are working now with, specifically at the moment, I'm working with Paul Drummy, Capital Projects, to kind of figure out where there are EVs going in citywide and figuring out how we're going to design a program that is sort of intentional, that's maximizing funding that's available and also makes sense for city infrastructure.
And one of our final initiatives is the HPA's 10-year lease at the corner of Asylum and Main is coming to an end. We are determining next steps, but right now the best option appears to be 20 Church Street, the Stilts building. There are a lot of benefits to relocating to that location, including ADA accessibility. We're currently in a historical building, so it is grandfathered in. It is less accessible, and that's something we'd like to improve upon. It's going to increase operational efficiency to reduce transit time for enforcement staff. And in my opinion, most importantly, we'll be able to provide parking validations. So if you're coming in to pay a ticket or appeal a ticket, you don't have to try to find street parking and pay for it. You'll have parking available at the Matt Garage, and we'll be able to waive that cost. All right, so before we dive into the budget, just to give a little bit of a background on the timeline of events. So in late fall of last year, mostly Kay and John, honestly, spent an incredible amount of time reviewing the operational budget and coming up with a plan. And we then went to our board in January, and they voted in support of our budget. After that, we met with the mayor's office, and we reviewed the things that we're trying to do, both in terms of our operations, but also in terms of the Matt Garage and library capital repairs project. And the mayor absolutely understood the things that we were suggesting and the issues that we were confronting at those locations. At that point, when the mayor submitted his recommended budget to the city, he had a different line item for the R&R money, which I'm sure you're all aware now is because there's also a resolution currently in your hands to discuss that item. It was conveyed to us that our responsibility is to present the board the budget that was approved by our board. So we will be presenting that information, but I'm sure you're all aware that there is a resolution pending for essentially the same end goal. And I'm going to throw it back to you.
So this year specifically, some of the key budget drivers are that we are trying to self-fund Matt Garage's Phase 1 repairs as well as the library parking deck repairs. There's escalating upkeep requirements, fleet needs, increased operational expenses, and also that we have to account for the office lease and relocation. Our 10-year lease is coming up in the spring of 2026.
So our proposed budget had essentially been with the HPA retaining a larger percentage or larger amount of its income in order for us to fund Phase 1. So our proposed budget had us giving $877,000 back to the general fund, whereas this year we're returning $2.283 million. And I'll let Kay explain where we came up with that $877,000 number.
That number was pretty strategic and intentional. It was based on the debt service that the city still owes on the bonding from Morgan Street Garage. The payment this year that's due is $366,929, and then we took an assumption from depreciation in previous years, and the idea was that we wanted to give something back where we could still fund both phases of the Phase 1 of the library parking deck and the Matt Garage projects, but also not create a hole for the city to make those debt payments. And so this is just sort of an overview of the two major projects, capital projects that we are planning on using that $1.3 million for. The Mac Garage, as you can see, has gone up. This is if you would do it in single phases, so obviously it's not as expensive as it would be if we did it in phases, but unfortunately it would have to be done in phases. It's gone up 5.68% in just a year, so our fear is that if we don't step up and find a way to offer to self-fund this, that we're going to be priced out of it eventually, and it will become a capital projects issue for the city. The next one is the library parking deck. As you can see, last year, according to the on-call engineering firm's annual condition report, it was $427,000, and that has since jumped to $1.1 million. The significance of that jump is because it was assumed at that time that there was going to be money coming in from the DOT for with a grant to repair the bridge over the library parking deck. And since then, I had spoken with Frank De La Ripa because it was asked of us sort of what had happened. And what we were told is that the DOT denied those funds because in their eyes, it is a bridge that is not, that does not have traffic flow, does not support traffic flow. Instead, it supports parking. So that is why that was denied. So with that being said, we kind of looked at what we have in our capital reserve at the moment, paired with what we would have it this year and see what we could do. And if we were in fact able to get this 1.3, that would be allocated to not only the Mac Garage Phase 1, but also to the library parking garage Phase 1.
Okay. All right, and then this is just a picture of our team out in the world. But that is essentially the budget information we have available. Again, I'm aware that you all have a resolution in front of you to also have those funds. This was the alternate strategy. I think the point we're trying to impress upon everyone is that we believe this is a very important need for the city, that the garage should be maintained and retained as an important asset. And however that is accomplished, we appreciate your help in trying to do that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this presentation. You did much better than we discussed. So that was pretty smooth. So that was pretty good. Good job.
Faster.
Good job.
Thank you.
So do you mind that? Just there you go. So I can see my colleagues and make sure that I have all of them on the screen. Okay. Okay.
Do you want me to remove the pin?
That's good. I can see my colleagues here. So I'm going to start with a round of questions. I'll start with on the screen with Councilman Mitchum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you, Director Turlo and team for the presentation. I have a question, a series of questions about enforcement of parking in the bike lane. As you also know, there's also a resolution in committee right now about bike lanes, and this is related to that, but it's also just related to the business of HPA. There was a moratorium on enforcement of parking violations in the bike lanes for about a year, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And help me out, I think I know, but I know you know the details better, so you'll help me out. But from roughly the beginning of 2023 to March of this year?
Oh, beginning of 2024 to, I think it was...
Sorry, that's what I meant to say,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, until I think February or March of this year. Correct.
And that started with complaints from two businesses, right?
I believe it was one business initially. I'm getting a shake head. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting a shaking head. I had gotten an email, I believe, from council, and I believe there was one affected business initially that was the cause for the conversation.
I just want to be clear, when you say you got an email from council, you didn't get there was not a resolution, there was not an official communication from the 9 right? There was a communication from handful of us.
No, I received an email, and then there was a meeting that was set up pursuant to that email.
But there was like 2 or 3 council members there.
Yes, there were a few members of city council present in the meeting.
And that basically there's a restaurant on Scion where they felt that they needed the parking that was the bike lane on one side of Scion Street in front of their restaurant. So they wanted a moratorium for that block, right?
Yes, it was asked to hold on enforcement for bike lanes, and I think the idea was, to review the infrastructure and how the decisions were made to put bike lanes into the city. Had time to review that planning.
So I'm just trying to understand the process. So a few members of council asked you in a meeting to stop enforcing parking in bike lanes.
Yes, the request was made that we stop enforcing for time to review. Correct.
And that was what, like February of 2024?
I think around then. I'd have to check my calendar to verify, but around that time.
And as far as there was never like an ordinance change or a resolution. All the same rules were in effect, but there was a little pause.
Yes, that's correct. There was a request to hold.
And that ended up lasting over a year.
That is correct.
And I mean, at some point, were you concerned that you should, that your job was to enforce the parking rules in the city?
I mean, I'm assuming a lot of people.
So excuse me, just a point of order. We're trying to have a budget hearing, meeting, and we're now kind of like going sidetrack out of the budget hearing presentation that Ms. Turlo presented. I'll be more than happy to schedule, HPA for an OMB meeting, and we could have those discussions. But this is a budget hearing, and we're trying to stick to, questions related to her presentation.
Well, she talked a lot about responding to the community and complaints and accommodating businesses, and also about how her operations and her budget work. And I think it's important to note that for all of her efforts and all of her processes, we have informal intervention on behalf of business owners that frustrates her work by members of this body. I think that's important for us to talk about publicly because it goes to what is this money we're spending on the HPA if we officially have ordinances and then quietly we make accommodations for our business owning friends. I think that's entirely relevant.
Have you received the answer to the question that you initially stated about the Zion Street?
Well, I'm trying to understand how it was that for a year we suspended the law and the operations of this agency that is before us without any action by this body or any change in the law. I'm getting it.
Right. Councilman, let me...
Mr. Chair, point of order. Can I respond to Councilman Mixtum?
Councilwoman Rosado, I'm going to let you respond, but then after that, if we need to take a recess, we'll take a recess. I need to really consult with my colleagues here because this is way out of order of the budget hearing.
Absolutely. So the questions that Councilman Mixtum is questioning here right now, he has the answers to all these questions. We've been back and forth. I'm going to say I, as a council member, did reach out to Ms. Turlo with a concern, not only Zion Street, Councilman Mixtum, there are other businesses that are involved, to find a better way that works for our small businesses and the bike lanes. And we did have meetings. It probably was 6-8 months. Due to certain circumstances, we couldn't get there, and that's why we have a resolution on the floor that was sent to committee to discuss. And I'm going to ask you respectfully for you to wait until that resolution comes up in committee, and you can ask all these questions, and you will get answers to all your questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rosado. Councilman Mitchell, if we're going to take a recess, if your intent is to continue having conversations outside of this budget presentation, otherwise, if you want to follow up with the following question not related to this topic, then the floor is yours. Otherwise, I will move on to my next council colleague.
I'll summarize quickly and then I'll move on.
All right.
One comment.
We're going to take a quick recess. Thank you.
Whew, okay.
Let us know when you're ready.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for waiting for a few more minutes. So seeing that, Ms. Turlo, you have completed your presentation, our council colleagues have no other questions, we're going to adjourn this meeting, and we'll talk to you guys offline when if you have any other questions. Thank you.
I have more questions.
Thank you.
I have more questions. Point of order. Oh, boy.